And now from the Winnipeg Free Press, the lovely and talented Brad Oswald.
They told me I was following Bianco. They didn't tell me I was going to be following and voguing Terry Morrow. I don't know if you remember what I said the last time that I presented one of these things, but now I got nothing. It was, by this account at least, a terrifying, crazy, boozy time. An ordeal in which men and women stationed too far from home for too long a time spent their days witnessing unimaginable horrors, elbows deep in a messy business that they didn't fully understand, doing a dirty job with a shared sense of purpose, and enduring unflinchingly for the sake of those left back home. To cope with their overwhelming sense of disconnection, they spent their nights trying to reclaim some sliver of normalcy, and maybe even a few moments of joy, by engaging in antics that, back in the real world, would be viewed by most as downright dysfunctional. But enough about my first press tour in 1989. The Television Critics Association's Heritage Award is presented to a long-standing program that has had a lasting social or cultural effect on society. And to say that this year's recipient met that standard would be a sorry understatement indeed. Spun from a feature film that satirized the most brutal of human endeavors, this program achieved the unthinkable by surpassing its big screen inspiration. Arriving in prime time in the fall of 1972 as a half-hour comedy series, it quickly evolved into something quite immeasurably more. A boundary-pushing hybrid that mixed humor and drama, silly pranks with sharp political commentary, dysfunctional family comedy with deeply insightful explorations of the human condition, all the while fearlessly experimenting with formats and points of view in a way that made every episode a revelation. For 11 inspired seasons, the writers, producers, and cast of this show took us back in time and halfway around the world in order to take a look at ourselves. And along the way, they collected 14 Emmys and a Peabody Award. We simply couldn't help laughing along with its star's ridiculously infectious giggle. And we're actually not ashamed to cry when this series, this comedy series, had the audacity to kill off a beloved central character as a means of underscoring the fragility of the human experience. And you want appointment television, you want event television, you want must-see television. Well, when this series finally said goodbye, farewell, and amen in February of 1983, an unprecedented 106 million Americans tuned in. Even in its afterlife, it has remained vital. It's an almost certain bet that you could still find this show airing in syndication somewhere on the dial at pretty much any hour of the day. And if you stopped, just for a little while and watched, you'd find that it's still as fresh and as relevant and here's the key, as funny as it was during its initial run. Yes, they've been gone for almost 30 years, but they've never really left, and for that, we should be glad. So here's to the whole gang at the 4077th. Hawkeye and Trapper, and BJ and Margaret, and Radar and Henry and Max, and Sherman and Charles, and Francis, and yes, even you, ferret face. Thanks for the memories. It is with great pleasure and a sense of personal gratitude that I invite executive producer Gene Reynolds to accept the Television Critics Association's award, the Heritage Award.